few days, research firm Ipsos did release a corruption index report that ranked the Deputy President, William Ruto, as the most corrupt person in the country, the Kirinyaga Governor, Anne Waiguru, as second most corrupt. That report did elicit a lot of reactions, especially of the two leaders, the Deputy President coming out to reject and rubbish that report, calling it political propaganda. Now, our senior political affairs reporter, Chris Airo, did sample some of the reactions to that report. Let's listen in.
The Deputy President William Ruto and Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru held a breakfast meeting at the DP's official residence in Karen, together with MCAs from Kirinyaga County. The breakfast meeting coming just a day after the two leaders were ranked as number 1 and number 2 in a corruption perception index survey conducted by Ipsos Synovate firm. And although the focus of the meeting was on developmental issues, they used the opportunity to scoff at the latest controversial survey on corruption perception.
The whole of this story, constant, perennial, unending headlines about William Ruto this, William Ruto that, opinion poll this, corruption the other, is sponsored by our competitors because they cannot match our development record.
Wataleta siasa, watatuita majina, mimi hata siitishi kiti, mimi nataka kusimama na wewe. Mimi nimejiangalia hiyo ligi venye wamenisukuma, nikasema Mungu lazima akuwe ananipangia mahali. Kwa sababu siwezi wekwa na ma presidents na mimi tu ni hustler, mtoto wa maskini. Si ndio?
The two leaders are linking the survey to 2022 succession politics, given that the Deputy President has already indicated his interest to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta. Ruto maintained that some individuals were keen to taint his image.
I want to tell them, when they are through with the headlines and with the corruption propaganda, let us meet at the development arena of the people of Kenya. Because that is where the real contest is. And we will not allow them to mislead us and to take us to an arena that has no benefit for anybody.
There is a God in heaven. And Your Excellency, if you don't believe, just look at me. Mimi nilikuwa nimemalizika. I tell people, if I am here, standing as a governor, having stood against all odds, there is a God in heaven, and that God never changes.
Waiguru, who was forced to resign as a cabinet secretary during President Uhuru's first term in office after being linked with the NYS scandal, has already instructed her lawyers to sue Ipsos Synovate for tainting her name.
An arrow that is sent at night is returned by the same way it came. So, unaweza ambao wache siasa lakini unapigwa na siasa. Na ukipigwa na siasa lazima urudisha na nini? Na siasa. Kwa sababu huwezi rudisha na uteknokrasia ama tuanze kuongea maneno mengine. Tukisema ni siasa ni siasa.
Wanataka kumpaka matope ili kwa uso ya taifa hii naibu wa rais aonekane yeye ni mtu anapenda ufisadi. There is a serious profiling of the deputy president in a very negative way.
Unajua gazeti haiuzwi Kenya leo bila ya headline iko William Ruto huko, iko Waiguru huko, sijui iko nani huko. Kwa sababu hawa watu hawana plan nyingine. Tumewashinda na kadhi. Sasa wamekuja kwa porojo na story.
The report also indicated that majority of Kenyans think the corruption menace has shot up during the Jubilee administration compared with the grand coalition of retired President Mwai Kibaki and Raila Odinga. Chris Airo, KTN News.
So a lot of questions being raised. The people implicated in that report on that survey by Ipsos. Let's listen to the Ipsos boss, Tom Wolf, talking about that particular survey.
Then we asked, and what names have you heard in connection with any of these scandals? And on the left, we have the list of those who had more than 1% mentioned. and on the right, percent or fewer. Actually, it should be fewer than 2%. I can change that. Sorry. Now we had, as you can see on the bottom right, many other mentions of individuals, nearly 90, but usually just 1 or 2 or 3 people mentioning those names. Many of those people I never even heard of because they're from county governments and so on. But again, you can see the list is mainly a reflection of what has been reported in the media. Then we asked the question, of all current and past but still living political leaders that you can think of, which 2 do you think are or were the most corrupt? And this is the list that we have, with some major differences between Jubilee and NASA supporters. And one thing that you can maybe derive from this list is that the higher the position, generally, in the political hierarchy, the more likely they are to be mentioned.
All right, before I get the gentleman's views on this particular story that is currently developing, let's listen to some of the allies of the Deputy President, William Ruto, and what they think about that survey and the report, the corruption index report.
Ya kwenda Ikulu imetiririka wazi. Kama ni ng'ombe imepagisha miezi kidogo tu. Sasa tunataka kuchunga huyu ng'ombe alalelale akaekae karibu nyumbani, ndio azivamiwe na wezi na mafisi.
William Ruto 1997 alisaidia Raila Odinga, hakukuwa mwizi. Akakuja 2003 akasaidia Uhuru Kenyatta, hakukuwa mwizi. Akakuja 2007 akasaidia Uhuru Kenyatta, hakukuwa mwizi. Sasa leo kwa sababu yeye anataka amekuwa mwizi, nataka niambia wakora mshindwe na mwezi tu block, tutafika kwenye tunaenda. Tutapigia kura yule mtu anakuja karibu na sisi, tutapigia kura barabara, tutapigia kura maendeleo. Mtu mwenye anategemea Isinobe tukutane na yeye 2022 tuonyeshe yeye wewe utaenda kula Isinobe zaidi sina kula barabara.
Member of Parliament bringing a petition here in Parliament ostensibly to block William Ruto from vying because he's serving in the presidency. The same people who sponsored that Member of Parliament are the same people talking about the changing our constitution to create more positions for themselves. Those people have told Kenyans before that they are not interested in vying for 2022. But there are some people in this country, when they say yes, we all know as Kenyans that they mean no. Those are the people who are sponsoring IPSO, and they are the people who are sponsoring Tom Wolf.
We want his company and himself to be investigated, and the country to be told to whom are they working for.
So the allies of the Deputy President there are coming out guns blazing. Mheshimiwa Ndindi Nyoro, they are saying that somebody has sponsored Tom Wolf. I mean, so much is said about the Deputy President being targeted. So much is said about by his allies. Dismas, if I can start with you, where do you place this report, this survey by Ipsos?
When Mzee Moi was the Vice President of the Republic of Kenya, for that duration of time, he faced a lot of landmines. As a Vice President, he had the Rift Valley provincial police officers stop him and inspect his car because they suspected he was carrying weapons. He was humiliated. There was even a change in the constitution group which wanted to stop Moi from becoming the President of the Republic of Kenya. So therefore, it's very surprising for the so-called Ruto allies to start jumping all over town that there's somebody who wants to stop Ruto from becoming President of the Republic of Kenya. They must be advised that there's a good percentage of Kenyans who do not support William Ruto, and they don't expect him to become the President of the Republic of Kenya. And the presidency is not going to be handed to Ruto on a silver platter. He's going to fight for it, which is why the response of some of those allies makes you think that probably they're not even working for Ruto. They're masquerading as his supporters while they could be working for other external forces. Because an opinion poll has been done, and the reaction is typical to Kenyan politicians, which reflects a bit of mediocrity. Wherever there's an opinion poll, if it serves your interests, you'll break into a dance and song, say this is the best thing which has happened. It reflects the wills of Kenyans.
All right.
For instance, said that if elections were held today, Ruto would be president by 3%, and then Raila would be by 10%, then the same MPs would have said this is an accurate reflection of the people of Kenya. But what have they done now? They go to the typical lazy questions with the sponsor. Give us the methodology. This is fake news. The people don't want Ruto to become president.
It's an important question, isn't it?
But how come it's only important when it paints you on the negative side?
Tom Wolf never answers.
No, he answered. If you look at the press release and the literature he distributed, he answered it very well. Again, it points that these folks are lazy. They did not take time to consume the literature as he sent it out. It was available on social media, widely distributed. So I suspect his allies were planning for political rallies and they assumed. That's number one. Number two, the way the president reacted and the deputy, again, shows that it was not a calculated move, because he has probably responded in a manner, assuming now that the opinion poll was sponsored, he has responded in the right manner. Because for the first time you see a very furious deputy president talking about Injili ya Shetani, and then saying that I don't expect that your father must have not been president or vice president or a minister for you to take office. And if you look at all the presidents we've had in Kenya, it's only one whose father had been president, that's Jomo Kenyatta. So when you have that kind of whom are you referring to? Are you referring to your boss? Or you're talking about the president of LSK or other presidents in Kenya? And in my view, Ruto and Waiguru should be restrained in their response to these opinion polls. Because they fall into debate, as one of those MPs has indicated, Mark, by one of those sponsors.
Yes, Mark, very quickly, because of time. What do you think, do you question such a survey, or is it totally in order? And what is your view of the way the two leaders reacted?
You know, let's start with the bare facts.
Yes.
If you ask the average Kenyan whether our politicians are corrupt, 100% of them will say yes. To Ruto, they said yes to Waiguru, they said yes to Raila Odinga, they said yes to Uhuru Kenyatta. Okay, all those politicians had their names on that list. Okay, and this was a matter of how many people thought this, and I don't understand why we as Kenyans like burying our heads in the sand. I would personally like to know, in terms of Raila Odinga, what happened to the molasses plant in Kisumu, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to know. You understand? I would like to know from Moses Wetangula what happened to certain pieces of land in Tokyo. These things are okay for us to ask. I would like Kalonzo Musyoka to tell me where he got his millions. That is a common question. So that's number one. Let's stop having this issue where if anyone is asked a question, then we run into this thing of political enmity. And if indeed it is political enmity, we are a democratic country. If today I decided to say I am running for MP in Mosocho, it is obvious that Dismas Mokua, the Duke of Mosocho, will come up with a dossier about Bichachi. He will talk about my hair, and that is how politics works. So I don't understand how politicians are crying wolf about wolf when they're in the wolf's game. It does not make sense. You understand? The war of stopping William Ruto from becoming president is the democratic right of the people who do not like him. You understand? What I would advise his advisors to do is to stop playing victim. It does not work. It is not a good strategy.
Are they not just responding also in a wolf way?
How you respond in politics is very critical. Yeah. His response should have been like the way Uhuru asked us to ask our fathers. If I call my father, who is a career civil servant, and ask him, Dad, how did you buy this car? And he cannot tell me, I went and took a loan and I went to this, then I must conclude that my father is corrupt. You understand? This is how we deal with corruption.
All right.
This country needs to stop one behavior.
Okay.
Where if we make money, it is God. Okay? And you don't want to tell us how you made money. politician should tell us how they made money. Every civil servant should tell us how they made money. I am not attacking anybody. Please don't write to me. I'm just telling you what the standard should be for every Kenyan. And this nonsense of playing victim all the time should stop.
Husband, talk to us about the messaging by the Deputy President, basically, and his allies.
I think first, before I even look at the messaging, we probably need to ask ourselves, do these opinion polls reflect the opinion of the electorate, or they are meant to influence the opinion of the electorate? And to a large extent, you realize that the opinion pollsters in Kenya are oscillating between the two. There are instances when they can be perceived to be influencing, and there are instances when they are perceived to be a reflection. And I think with the kind of results that they had, you can actually infer the questions. And it's very easy to discern the fact that the entire opinion must have been done to influence the opinion of the public in a certain direction. And that's why I would understand the reaction of the Deputy President, that you cannot ask such silly questions. I mean, there are so many things we need to find out about corruption rather than who is more corrupt. I mean, Kenyans walking around the streets all over this country actually want to be in a position where they can be corrupt. Truth be said, that people who are fighting against corruption from a position of, let me say, a position outside the precincts of power are probably doing that because they are not privileged enough to be in a position where they can also be corrupt. So there is that perception that we live in a country where the people who are in a position to be corrupt are most likely to be corrupt. And there was no reason why the opinion poll was to subject us to this. But then, we probably need to look at a few things that have happened all over the world and how politicians react to certain situations. What comes to mind right now is Senator McCain, who just passed on. When President Donald Trump started questioning Senator McCain's war veteran credentials, he never responded. Because when facts can speak the truth, you don't have to belabor explaining stuff. If the Deputy President understands that his track record speaks for itself, he understands that he is not corrupt, he understands that this is a ploy to finish him, I think by responding in the manner in which he responded, he's giving these people enough ammunition. But I think, again, we also need to look at the broader picture, and that's why I say these opinion posters are becoming silly by the day. Now, what we have in the world today is a situation where news is increasingly conflict-driven, and we cannot run away from that. That there's a way in which Rupert Murdoch and his Murdochization of the world has influenced the entire globe to have news that is conflict-driven and targeting the middle class. And in these news stories, they target the elites, and they are presented in such a way that is entertaining. And the Deputy President ought to understand that by all intent and purposes, when he's presented as the most corrupt person, newspapers will sell. And I don't think it is even incumbent upon him to even start attacking the newspapers. We just need to look at the overarching thing, that when opinion pollsters also fall into this trap where they're giving us opinion, not of things that are of public interest, but things that would make the public interested, then they're losing the plot.
Dismas seeks to disagree, but before I go to Dismas, Kipchumba, just in case we run out of time, 40 years ago, there are people who have compared and contrasted the situation that 40 years ago, back in 1978, when Daniel Arap Moi was vice president, and a clique of people from central Kenya were trying to lock him out of State House until he was saved by the Attorney General then, Charles Njonjo, is exactly what's happening right now. Do you believe it's something that's normal and that the president should just take it on the chin?
Ben, becoming the president of Kenya is not the same as becoming the head of a Nyumba Kumi initiative in a village. Becoming the president is not synonymous and with becoming a cattle dip chairman. Having said that, let me go back to Dismas and do some little civic education to Dismas. He will pay after the show. An act that was brought to Parliament by the Honorable Boni Khalwale, it is Act number 39 of 2012. It is the act that now offers the guidelines on how opinion polling in this country should be done. When you address your mind to Section 4 of the Act, it talks about the 8 things that must be done by an opinion pollster before we take it as credible opinion polling. One, the first thing is the sponsor of the opinion poll. It is number one. Number two, the name of the organization. Number three, the methodology. Number four, the education margin of the participants. Number five is the error. And number six is the framing of the question. When we address ourselves to an opinion poll, the opinion poll should anybody, basic knowledge should tell us that an opinion poll should not shape perception. It should report perception. But for what we have been seeing in this country in the recent past, it has been an opinion poll made somewhere as part of a narrative. If we might disagree with what Ndindi